Good morning. Today we are going to be, it's going to be part one of David Hamelech. Some of the things we're going to talk about may be things that you know, things that are common, but we are going to try and get a little picture of who really was David Hamelech. So, and we are Chag HaShavuot is coming very soon. So how can it be that we are going to have Shavuot without speaking about David HaMelech? Right? He was born on Shavuot. He passed away on Shavuot. So let's get started. So B'Shem Hashem Naaseh V'Natzliach. This shiur is Le'ilui Nishmat Yaakov ben Esther, Yechezkel Baruch ben Avraham Halevi, Machluf ben Nisim, Hanania ben Reuven, and all those who were murdered prior, on, and after October 7. And this is also for Refuah Shlema to Avraham ben Chana, Zechariah Dov ben Pearl Shira, Yehonatan Rachamim Chai ben Michal, Avigail Sarah bat Mazal, Liora, Mazal bat Goltesh Sultanat, Tova bat Tzipora, Esther Chaya bat Nechama, and all the Cholim of Ad Am Yisrael. This shiur is also for our single, שיזכו לבנות בית נאמן בישראל בקדושה ובטהרה. And also for the Hatzlacha of the Chinuch, the education in Derech HaTorah of our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And for the Hatzlacha in Parnasa, Shalom Bayit, and in Yeshuot in any way anyone needs. And thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim. So, how can we go into Shavuot, Chag HaShavuot, which is really very soon, without mentioning David HaMelech? He was born and passed away on Shavuot. So let's get started. Who were David's parents, his siblings? How did this special neshama come into this world? Was David the first king? No. Shaul HaMelech was the first king, and he was from Shevet Binyamin. Ben Israel had asked for a king. That was at the time of Shmuel HaNavi. And Hashem said, okay, they want a king. Actually, the way they had asked wasn't really proper. They said, we want to be just like all the nations, all the Goyim, which was not really the right way to ask for it. But Hashem said, okay, they want a king. Let them have a king. And Hashem told Shemuel to anoint Shaul ben Kish ish Yemini. Shaul, he reigned only for 2 years. But Shaul had a very special neshama. He was not a Gilgul, a reincarnation. In other words, his neshama was not recycled. Let's put it that way. And Shaul, as we said, was the king for 2 years. He really should have been the king for longer. But he did not follow the instructions of Shemuel the way it should be. Exactly, he didn't. And this was regarding what? This was regarding the war of Amalek, against Amalek. Shaul allowed the king to live, to survive, and he was not allowed to he was supposed to kill the king and the animals, the herds, the sheep. So when Shmuel came to Shaul and he heard the sound of the herds, of the cows, of the sheep, he said, "What's going on here?" And then he found out that uh, that Agag, the of Amalek, the king of Amalek, was still alive. Shmuel was upset, and he told Shaul, "Hashem is very upset with you because you did not follow instructions, and because of this, you will be the king only for 2 years. That's it. Your kingship is not going to continue." Then Hashem told Shmuel, and he commanded him to go to Yishai, who lived in Bethlehem, and he was from Shevet Yehuda, and he told him, "I want you to choose one of his sons to be the king after Shaul. I'm sorry." And who was Yishai? Yishai was the grandson of Ruth and Boaz. And the Chachamim actually tell us about Yishai. It says in the Gemara that he did not sin, he never sinned. He went straight to Gan Eden. Usually, Neshama goes first to Gehinnom, get punished for whatever it is, and then it goes, when it's purified, then it goes into Gan Eden. The Neshama of Yishai went straight into Gan Eden. He was one of the 4 people. Binyamin, the son of Yaakov, also went straight to Gan Eden. Eliezer, the son of the servant of Avraham Avinu, also went to Gan Eden. And right now I can't remember who is the 4th one. And so Yishai was a very big Talmid Chacham. The Gemara says that when Yishai went on the street, he was so respected that there were 600,000 people who followed him on the street. That's how respected he was. And he came from Shevet Yehuda, from a very important family. And he himself, he became the Gadol Hador. He became the leader of the generation. His wife was Nitzevet bat Adael. Now Shmuel shows up. He comes to Yishai. And of course, Yishai is very honored and he's very excited and he wants to offer a Meker Seudah because Shmuel Hanavi came to visit him. And Shmuel tells him, "Hashem has sent me to anoint one of your children to become the next king after Shaul. So please bring them all in front of me, and we shall see which one one of your sons Hashem is going to choose." So Yishai had 8 boys and 2 girls. Yishai presents only 7 boys, not 8. Number 8 was David Hamelech, was David, right? But he did not present David. He presented 7. And the 7 oldest ones. So Shmuel steps forward, and he sees the oldest, who is very tall and has he has a presence, and he's about to anoint the oldest one. Hashem says, "No, no, 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 not him." So then Shmuel stops and he says, "No, Hashem did not choose this one." Then he steps forward to the second child, and the same thing happened. the third, the fourth, and so on. When all the seven sons had gone through the test and none of them were chosen, Shmuel said, "You must have another son. Hashem told me you have a son who's going to be chosen to be a king. So it means you have another son. And for sure, you must have another son. Otherwise, Hashem would not have sent me to you." Right? And Shmuel says, "You have to go and get him." And Yishai was going to send one of the brothers to go and bring David from the field. And Shmuel says, "No, no, you yourself go and bring that other son." And so they go and they bring David. Yishai goes and brings David. But at that moment, the sons, Yishai says to his sons, when he's about to go and bring David, he says, "Ze ba legalot et herpatenu." Now, if I bring David, by bringing David, not if he has to listen to the Navi, but he says, by bringing David, I am going to expose our shame. And reveal our shame. And then he says, "Yes, I have another son, David. He is a shepherd. I did not bring him here, I did not call him, because he's out there in the field taking care of the sheep." Shmuel says, "It's okay. Go and get him. And you yourself, you go and bring him." So Yishai ended up bringing David. At first, as soon as Shmuel saw David, he thought to himself, "This cannot be the king that Hashem is choosing. He is red." I mean, David was a ginger. He had red hair. He had beautiful eyes. And he was short. And the Midrash Rabbah says, on Parashat Toldot, says that Shmuel thought that David is red like Esav. So it means that he's the killer. Right? Then on the spot, Hashem says, "Stand up. Stand up and greet the future king of Israel." Yes, he has beautiful eyes. Right? What are the eyes? The eyes represent the Sanhedrin. That the Sanhedrin are going to, the highest court, are going to follow his rulings in Halacha. He has good eyes. He is red because he is going to fight many wars. Those wars are my wars. And I am going to agree to every war that he's going to go. So then, the obvious question here is, why was there an awkward moment between Yishai, his children, and Shemuel? Wasn't David the son of Yishai? And why wasn't David presented to Shemuel at the same time as his brothers? Right? And so in the Gemara it says like this: to understand what happened, we need to go back to the time before Moshe passed away. Moshe knew that Yehoshua would take his place one day. And close to his death, Moshe asked Yehoshua, "Is there anything you want me to teach you go over, review with you, any halachot? Because once I'm gone, I'm gone. So is there anything that you want to review with me? And Yeshua answered, no, I don't think so. Everything is clear to me. On the day that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, Yehoshua forgot 3,000 halachot because of the answer that he gave to Moshe. And one of the halachot that Yehoshua forgot was the one regarding the Isur, the prohibition that no Moavi and no Ammoni are allowed to be accepted as converts, ever. Why? כי שלא קידמו אתכם בלחם. Because when Ben Israel were traveling and passing through Moab and Ammon, the men of Ammon did not come out with bread and water to help Ben Israel. That proved, by not extending help to Ben Israel, it proved that they were cruel people. Even though Ben Israel had said, we're going to pay for the bread. You're not going to give it to us for free. We'll pay for the water. You're not going to give it to us for free. Yet they refused to give anything to Bnei Israel. They were ingrates. Kefuye tova. Why? What happened? Ammon and Moab, they came from Lot. Lot owes his life to Avraham Avinu. Because when Hashem decided to destroy Sodom and Amorah, Lot lived in Sodom. And Hashem wanted to destroy Sodom and Amorah and everyone who lives there. Lot was included. Those people were supposed to die. But because of Abraham, Hashem sent the Malachim to save Lot, not to cause any pain to Abraham. So now it means that the survival of Lot and his descendants are really because of Abraham. And now when the children of Abraham, they are traveling and they want to pay for whatever food you're going to give them, provide them with, you refuse to sell it to them? For that, Hashem says, they are not allowed to be accepted as converts into the Jewish nation. Even the Mitzrayim, the Torah tells us that if a Mitzri wants to convert, he will be accepted after 3 generations. It means he's going to convert. His children will not, they'll be Jewish, but they will not be able to marry Jews. Only after the 3rd generation, then they'll be able to marry Jews. However, the Isur, the prohibition about Ammon and Moab is only for men, because only the men went out to meet Bnei Israel, not the women. Women do not go out to war, at least in those days, right? Because of modesty. They stayed home. And how do we know that women did not go to war? How do we know? Because when the angels came to Abraham to tell him that he was going to have a son, they asked him, where is Sarah, your wife? And what did Abraham say? Hine ba'ohel. She's inside the tent. Right? Why was she inside the tent? Because of tzniut, because of modesty. She did not come out to greet the men. And then in Sefer Devarim, Lo yavo Moavi ve'amoni bighal Hashem. It says very clearly that no Moavi and no Ammoni is allowed to be accepted in the Jewish nation. Ad dor ha'asiri, until the 10th generation, which really means never. Lo yavo likhal Hashem ad olam. And Chachamim explain that they will not come ever, ad olam. They will never come to the into the Jewish. They will never be accepted in the Jewish nation. But this halacha had been forgotten. The halacha that a woman from Moab or Ammon is allowed to convert. This halacha has been forgotten, and in the Bet HaMidrash there were many discussions on this topic. At the time of Yishai, there lived a man by the name of Doeg HaEdomi, a very big Talmid Chacham. So, for example, the Gemara tells us he gave 300 reasons why the Lamed is a tall letter. Wow. You could explain 300 different reasons why the Lamed is written the way it is. Okay? So his opinion was, according to Doeg HaEdomi, his opinion was that that Ruth was not accepted, and her descendants are not Jewish. That was his opinion. And for sure, we could not marry someone, such a woman could not marry someone who was Jewish. That's it. A woman from Moab could not marry someone who is Jewish. That was his opinion. Until Avner ben Ner came. Avner ben Ner said, look, in Torah Shebichtav, in Sefer Devarim says, Ammoni and Moavi, it means a man for Ammon or Moab is not allowed to convert. We cannot accept them as converts. But in Torah Shebe'al Peh, that has been transmitted from generation to generation, from Moshe to Yoshua, L'Zkenim, L'Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, it has been transmitted. That one, in there, it says, and I learned the halacha from Shemuel, that Ruth is a recognized convert. A Jew can marry Ruth. Shmuel at the time was still alive. So you can go and check out what I just said with Shmuel. The debate went on for many years. Yishai, who was a tzaddik, started to have doubts whether he's a full Jew. Because Yishai is the son of Oved, and Oved is the son of Ruth and Boaz. And if he's not a Jew, a full Jew, then he cannot stay married to his wife Nitzevet. His wife was a full Jew. So he separated himself from her for 3 years. And again, understand, he was really being lifnei meshurat hadin. It means he was really being extra careful here. During this time, he learned and searched and trying to find out all about his lineage and what could be done about it. He was tormented and could not find peace of mind. But then he knew that the whole thing here started from Ruth and Boaz. When the whole question, right? When Naomi came back from Moab with Ruth, her daughter-in-law, who absolutely refused to leave Naomi, her mother-in-law, Ruth showed so much. She showed so much to Naomi how much she really wanted to convert. And what did Ruth say? Amech ami, your people, your nation are my nation, my people. Elokaich Elokai, your God is my God. El asher telchi elech, wherever you're going to go, I'm going to go. It means I have nowhere else to go. And wherever a Jewish woman is allowed to go, that's where I'll go. Then Naomi understood that Ruth is very serious about becoming a Jew. Later on, they came to Eretz Israel, right? They were on their way to Eretz Israel, but they had no food. And Ruth, in her kindness, she said, you rest here. I'm going to go into a field and I'm going to try and get some wheat so that we can make ourselves something to eat, right? And later on, when Ruth came back and Naomi found out that just by accident, which we know there's no such a thing as an accident, right? She had ended up in the field of Boaz, and Ruth and Boaz were not strangers. Ruth and Boaz were cousins. So by law, there is a law, a Jew could sell his field only if he became poor. And now this was the case. Naomi was poor. So Naomi said to Ruth, we own a field. I own half of it. That was from my ketubah. The other half is yours, from your ketubah. And Naomi now had the plan. What was the plan? Naomi realized Naomi was no ordinary woman. Boaz was no ordinary man. He was a leader of his generation, a very big tzaddik. Naomi realized, and she knew, and Mashiach is supposed to come from Ruth and Boaz. Boaz realized that also later on. And so Naomi said, okay, I have a plan. Go to Boaz. Because that night, that period was a time when they were gathering all the wheat. And Boaz was going to sleep in his granary just to make sure that to guard his wheat, so the thieves should not come and steal from him, right? And Naomi said, you hide yourself there. He's going to go to sleep. When he's really asleep, come close to him, uncover his feet, and he's going to understand the meaning of this action of uncovering his feet. And Ruth did what her mother-in-law told her. She changed, she washed herself, she changed exactly as her mother-in-law had told her, and she left early enough that she was able to go and hide in the granary. Around midnight, Ruth moves closer to Boaz and uncovers his feet. He felt it. He was dead scared. He thought maybe it was a demon. But Ruth explains, and he said, "Who is this?" And Ruth explained, "It's me. I am your servant. I am Ruth from Moab, the daughter-in-law of Naomi." And she explained to him why she came to him. And she said, "I am the widow of Machlon, and you are a cousin. You have of Machlon. So you have a mitzvah to fulfill, to be the Goel. There is a field that you have to buy back for us. And at the same time, you have to marry me to do the Yibum so that we can have a child, and that will be considered like a continuation of Machlon." And Boaz understood what she was saying, and he says, "Okay, however, I cannot be the Goel because there is another relative, a cousin, who is even a closer relative than me. So really the mitzvah is his. I cannot take away his mitzvah. And his name is Tov. I promise you, I will take care of it in the morning. I will do it for you." Boaz did not want her to think that he was pushing her away and finding excuses why that maybe he didn't want to do this mitzvah. But he said, "I cannot steal the mitzvah from Tov, the cousin. In the morning, I'll take care of it." So in the morning, very, very, very early in the morning, he told her, "Go before people are out on the street. I don't want people to start talking about you." And he gave her some food to take with her. And then, being the leader, he at the time, the Bedin used to be by the gate of the city, and he called them. He called the judges, and Tov happened to be passing by, and he told him, "Come here. We have a case here." So what is it? And he told him. He said, "You have got to redeem the field of Naomi, of Elimelech, who was Naomi's husband." He said, "Okay, I'll do it." But Boaz says, when you redeem the field, you buy back the field for Naomi, you also have to marry Machlon's widow, and that's Ruth from Moab. At that point, he said, "Oh no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this because then I'm going to stain my lineage. I'm from Shevet Yehuda. I'm from a very important family. I'm not ready to do this. You want to do it? You go ahead." And he says, not only this, you see, Elimelech went to Moab with his wife and his two children, Machlon and Chilion. Machlon and Chilion married women from Moab, and they died. I don't want to die, and I don't want to stay in my lineage. Okay? And so they died because they had left Eretz Israel and because they had married women from Moab. And so Boaz ended up marrying Ruth. Ruth became pregnant that same night, and Boaz died that night. And at the time, Tov, the cousin, had said, and many people had said, "You see, Boaz died because he married Ruth." But Chachamim tell us that Boaz did not die because of this. It was time for him to go. He was 80 years old. Ruth was 40. In some other midrash, it says that Boaz was much older, which could be. It's a midrash, right? The last night of his life, Boaz had the zechut of fathering a child. Not just any child, a child that was going to bring Mashiach. And not only this, Oved, the son of Boaz and Ruth, was a very big tzaddik. Yishai was a very big tzaddik. So people said it cannot be that Ruth, that the marriage of Ruth and Boaz is not good. Because if they have such great children who are tzaddikim, it means that their marriage is 100% kosher. But there were still people, unfortunately, it's always like this, right? There were still people who refused to accept Ruth as a full-fledged Jew, And among these people was Doeg HaEdomi. And he was the Rosh Sanhedrin. And he declared that the family of Yishai is not Jewish. And there were many people who followed that thought. So now, Yishai being that tzaddik that he was, he said that maybe I'm not a full Jew. And that's why he separated from his wife. And Chachamim tell us, this is what I told you before, that 4 people went to Gan Eden, right? And they died only because that was the punishment since Adam HaRishon. And the Talmud says, Masechet Shabbat, Yishai, Binyamin, or Amram, and Eliezer, and sorry, not Eliezer, Kilaav ben David. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So I repeat, Yishai, Binyamin, Amram, the father of Moshe, and Kilaav ben David. So how was Yishai going to fix his lineage if he's not 100% Jewish? What is he going to do? So he separated from his wife, as we said, for 3 years. And he searched and he learned deeper and deeper and deeper for an answer. Then he came up with a plan. And this is what it says. This is what it says in Masechet Kedushin, in the Gemara. Lo tov liyot ha'adam levado. Right? This is what it says. That why Hashem created the woman? Because it's not good for a man to be by himself. A man should not be alone. It's not good. And so he had a maid, a Canaanite. And he told her, I'm going to free you from your bondage. You're not going to be a maid anymore. But only on one condition. On the conditions. And he gave her the following conditions. Number 1, if my status as a Jew is legitimate, then you are freed from bondage. And you are allowed to marry me. Right? Number 2, if my status is blemished and I have a legal status of a Moavi because of my grandmother, I'm not giving you your freedom as a shifha Canaanite, as a maid Canaanite, and you can marry me. Now, obviously, children are aware of what goes on in the house, and they realize that their parents were separated, right? However, the maid, when Yishai came to the maid and he told her about his plan, and that the children that will be born are going to be Jewish, considered Jewish, the maid had a very good relationship with Nitzevet, the wife of Yishai. And for 3 years she had seen the pain and the anguish of Nitzevet, her boss. And so right away, when Yishai proposed her marriage to her, right away, instead of saying, oh wow, I'm so important, I'm special, right away she went to her boss. And she said to her, listen, this is what your husband has told me to do. This is what he wants to do. And so Nitzevet and the maid came up with a plan how to trick Ishai. That Nitzevet would be with Yishai and not the maid. That was the plan. And that's what happened. Yishai was in the bedroom and Nitzevet came in. He was thinking that it was the maid. A few months later, Nitzevet shows signs that she's pregnant. There's a pregnancy here. His children were very upset at their mother. Ishai could not understand. What happened? Did she cheat? Did she go with another man? Is it that she was not faithful? However, Ishai told them, don't say anything. The child is going to be born. Do not harm the child. Okay? And do not harm her. And the obvious question here is, why is it that Nitzevet did not defend herself? She didn't defend herself. She saw that her own children were upset with her because children were aware of what went on in the family. Not that Isha shared with them or that she shared with them, no, but they were aware. So they were aware and they were upset that she was pregnant, not knowing where this pregnancy come from. And yet, she didn't say anything. Her own husband couldn't understand either. She did not say anything. So, in part 2, we will learn about what happened here with in here with Nitzevet and how things took a turn when Shemuel came. So have a good day, and I will see you next time.